All right, good morning, guys. Melissa here, coming to you while I'm sick. Um, Still get stuff done, guys, even when you're sick. Be very motivated to still do stuff. So I just took a couple Advils, counting 4 hours away until I can take the next ones, but I probably won't if I don't have to. I don't take medicine. I don't take anything unless I absolutely have to. And I'm like, Melissa, you've had a head cold too, so just take it. So I went to the library. I did some writing while I was sick. I felt like I had a snotty nose the whole time. It was kind of embarrassing. I was trying to just like stay away from people. So, what's going on, guys? So, I did some writing on the computer and then I just sent it to my email. And as you write, ladies, you want to write about abortion. You want to, because what happens is when I've written stuff down throughout like 30 years, I have tons of notebooks of like 30 years of stuff I've written down. And I'm trying to compact it now. I'm trying to like do a project and compact everything into different notebooks and, downsize my writing. But, so, let me see, how do I say this? So, as I'm writing, I'm more things are coming up. I'm trying to get to the end of my book, is what I'm trying to do. But as I've gone through post traumatic stress classes, I wanted to write about that. So, my book is about abortion trauma because we don't talk about it enough. And as I was writing, I got to know myself even more. And I'm like, it's more than even the abortion. It's more than the crisis pregnancy. This channel will hook up with my book, hopefully. I'll get my book published and then I'll be able to sell my book on here. But what it's about basically is that wound with your mother. And I remember, I couldn't see it as good as I just saw it like the other day. I was listening to Sylvester Stallone talk about his mom and how cruel she was with her words. And I'm like, I remember that with my mother. Usually they say with trauma, you want to listen to somebody when they have a trauma pregnancy. You want to listen, you want to offer acceptance, you want to offer that you understand them, you see them, you hear them, you understand them, right? Not in my case. I felt like, I wasn't seen, I wasn't heard, nothing mattered about me. It was just, don't tell me you're pregnant, right? And so when you are having like a major crisis like that, you need your mom. You need her. And, this was not the first time that I had felt betrayed. And then as I look at the pattern in my dating years and all the betrayal, it's like, Melissa, you just didn't really have, a mother who was supporting you and helping you. So, thinking about the dating I went through with all the guys and, my parents were supportive of Randy. By the way, I saw a picture of him last night on Facebook, Randy Vian. And, memories come back, right? So they were letting me, date him and be alone in a car and everything. Didn't even, my license wasn't really talked about until after the abortion. And it was, here's your license. Here, we're giving you a car. I'm buying you clothes to make up for this. I'm co-signing for an Aries, and when you have that happen, it's probably why now I'm like, I can't be brought. I just cannot be brought. I have a friend like this too, who's like, people try to buy me, and when you don't want anything, they cannot buy you. Very powerful. So, I know my mother had her own stuff going on, but the biggest wound is with your mom, right? So, I'm writing about this. I'm writing about, my mother just totally dropped me again and abandoned me years later when I reached out during COVID. I tried to reach out to her, talk to her, and then she still, was like, yeah, I can't have a relationship with you. So a lot of money is part of this too. My family has a lot of money. They have a lot of land. It's probably going all to my brother and his daughter. And of course, my sister-in-law snuck in, and manipulated a lot of stuff with the grandparenting thing so that she would get money. So, um, I'm sorry, some of this sounds really cruel, but when you have a mother who goes over to your in-laws and starts trouble, saying you twist things and starts being against you with your family and your community, you do have to stick up for yourself, ladies. So I had a mother just totally against me, totally against me a lot. So I don't know what it was. My grandmother was totally for me. My mother was totally against me. So yeah, so anyways, I talk about, a lot of this is money. My mother didn't want anything going to me, and that's the price you pay for being a Christian sometimes, guys. You lose your whole entire family. They don't like the changes. They don't like that they can't control you. And so let it be, because God owns it all, right? And if he wants to lift you up, he will. So, so what I did in my writing is I talked about a grace group I took in a church. Very, very good grace group. A woman stood up in church and said, hey, join this class if you need support. Don't ever be alone, guys. She's like, I had a father molest me, and he was a pastor. So I'm like, oh my goodness, wow. And I had always liked to take classes as I was raising my kids, and I'm like, yeah, this sounds interesting. I think that's important. I knew there was dysfunction in my family, so I went there. Unbelievable ladies. I mean, unbelievable. They built me right up in the Lord, and they applied truth to some of those things that had happened with my family. Applying scripture, using two different curriculums to get through the wounds. One was Dan Allender's book. I think it was Grace for the Wounded or something. That was one of them. So it was digging into the wounds, which was very time consuming, digging in, pulling out the infection, so to say, and then applying and healing like a broken arm, that needs to be in a cast and it needs to be protected for a time to deal with some of those things. Generational stuff. Now, I don't say this to be like totally prideful, okay? I am very humbled. I am very humbled. And I remember being there and being like, out of everyone in my family, I'm the only one that I knew who was saved. And I talked about how do you turn your life around. Yes, you put all the effort in you can. You take the time to put effort in. But ultimately, it's just God's grace. It's just his amazing grace. And he pulled me out of, I know I am associated with like almost all of New Hampshire, it feels like. Relatives, I have no idea. Sometimes I'll do my family history and I'll be like, okay, who was Dakota? Who are they? And how am I related to them? And then you find out, oh, I'm also related to them, and I'm related to them, and I'm related to them. And I'm like, Herbie Dakota. Never knew he was a relative. So as you do the research, you learn more. So this guy Herbie was over all the time, and I never even knew that there was a connection, So my dad's side was very secretive about their family and their family history. Very secretive. That was not passed down to me. So as you do this, I'm in this group and they isolated me for a time, which was really good. Not isolated me, but they were an oasis to me. We met on a weekly basis. I was away from family, and I was doing this with them. And I had my mother-in-law, this is why I tell you, she's such a witch, calling the church, telling on me at the church about certain things. I don't even know what she was saying, just that I was, something about going to church and just some things that were not appropriate. And this was during Christmas. She left a message on their voicemail, and they're like, oh, I think she deserves a call back, Melissa. I think we're going to give her a call back, and she at least deserves that, Melissa, for what she said about you. So having my sisters in Christ, around me and stick up for me and defend me, and other people in churches too. When my husband was going through stuff with his family, they helped him too. They helped him to be like, Ben, you're married to your wife, not your mother, kind of thing, right? So, um, so anyways, when we were together, we had a lot of great interaction. They built me right up in Christ, and that's what you need, ladies. You need to be built up as a Christian. And we went over to one lady's house for dinner. I mean, she was an amazing cook. Sorbet. I never had sorbet up until that point. She had just served us. I think there was eventually in our group about at least, I want to say 8 to 14, different people. You're going through this together. When you do things together, it helps you. So she had laid out, I mean, like a 3-course meal for all of us, and it was just wonderful. So as I was going through this, they also helped me financially because that was my time that was being taken, right? So they came alongside us, they took care of the rent, they took care of other things to help me in any way that I could be compensated for the time, and it was very time consuming. I had just had 2005, my last son, at 35, and then 2006, 2007, I'm going through this class, right? So I had a lot going on. So they took care of that. They came over, took care of the roof on the trailer, although it was not their responsibility. There was a group of men. They took care of that. They put siding on the trailer, although my in-laws co-signed for the trailer. They didn't want to do much. They didn't want to take responsibility for the place. So they had done that, and that was all for me and for my husband, okay? And then they just did so much. And then I had the pregnancy center when I took classes about having teenagers. They came through for us one Christmas with a basket full of stuff for Christmas, plus gift cards, plus someone had donated like 10 bags of clothes, like women's clothes. So I remember we had like 10 bags in the hallway, and my boys were jumping on the bags because I needed to like situate them, and we had no room, so I had to pass on a lot, but I did get a lot there. Then someone knew someone at the electric company, so they paid for that for us. They caught us up on our electric bill. They gave us gift cards for Christmas. I mean, pregnancy centers will go out of their way to do stuff for you. They really will. So then later on, I stayed connected to them for a few years after that. And then 2017, I took my first abortive class, so I was writing about that. And I didn't realize at the time that mother wound again was what was bothering me, because me and a lady connected at McDonald's. We got along great. We had met up together, and I wanted to make sure I felt comfortable with her before I signed up with this class, right? So we were really comfortable. I get along just about with everybody, really. Unless someone starts giving me crap at work or something, then I will stand up for myself. So anyways, we're talking, we're bonding, and then this other lady decides to come into the picture. And I didn't realize it at the time. It wasn't until like now I thought about it more and realized it more. But her coming in to a conversation we were already having about abortion, and here I am opening up extremely vulnerable because it's the first time I opened up. I had already been dealing with post-traumatic stress on my own, and I didn't realize it. So we had one girl join us, and they asked me for permission for her to join us. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, because they had already mentioned that she might join us. So she was a young mom, and she was talking about her abortion. And little would I realize how important that is to hear other women's stories about abortion. And I could relate to her, right? And then just like my mentor, I could relate to her abortion story. She now had language and jargon that I could now process what I had been through, that before I had no language for it, right? So the center was amazing. They were awesome. So but this one lady, and I didn't know it at the time, but she came in and she was a very very strong woman. And at the time, this was part of the post traumatic stress. I didn't realize how aggressive I felt she was being. I also felt, not that she was, I mean, she was just bubbly and very, she was an expert. So she just kind of assumed some things. So she's talking with us. And I just felt like she barged in on us, is how I felt. Like, what are you doing here? I didn't give you permission to come in. And I kind of avoided her. I kind of gave her the cold shoulder. And I was like, this woman's personality is driving me up the wall. So I spoke up for myself and I said, look, she didn't have permission to come in. I don't know why she's here, kind of thing. And I made it known. And I didn't understand at the time what was bothering me. So they apologized and they're like, we're going to change our policy and we will make sure at the beginning now, instead of midway, or not even midway, it was like a third of the way, before someone comes in. And I'm like, yeah, this is my private story. Nobody told you that you could, be involved, kind of thing. So that did not go down real well. That's probably only one of the real frictions I had with a pro-life thing. And then, so policies were changed and stuff. And then I just felt like the curriculum was going way too fast for me. I was trying to heal, and I didn't particularly like this curriculum because it was a strong Bible study. And I'm like, I haven't even gotten through, the what happened, So I would recommend that for that curriculum down the road for women who have already had healing. But there's a lot of curriculums that are changing, and mostly just like when I first met with this lady, just talking, just her hearing me and being able to give me the words that I needed to process this was probably the most helpful thing. So anyways, that had ended. I did not like that because I was like, I just, you just opened a can of worms with me, and now I'm on my own. So I had to go. So I went into a workplace situation. I hadn't been healed and more stuff was coming up. And then when I got over here, and this was God brought me over here. I wasn't even like, my son's like, I need a roommate. And I'm like, I hadn't seen my son in a while. His wife walks out and I'm like, I don't think I want to go to Colorado. And my husband knew that too. I'm like, I don't really want to go. And, he wasn't doing anything. So I'm like, I need housing for our minor. There's no way my minor is going to be homeless because he didn't even do anything wrong, right? So we came over here and God had a plan and I didn't know it. He had a plan for me to finish healing and it just came up. I mean, I just, started a walk for life and then I got to know these ladies and started a second post-abortive class. And they mothered me through that. And I think mothering, I say the word mothering because it's so important to be able to get through that. So, so what I'm doing with my writing is I'm talking about the wounds of abortion trauma. And it's not even, I've had to work backwards. I had to grieve the baby, get through that. Then I had to, look at the pregnancy, that I wasn't even like a mom. It was just you're in trouble. And now what I'm looking at is how rough my mother was with me and looking at those wounds. And I do not think you can heal, ladies, from abortion until you look back at that relationship, the mother-daughter relationship. I think you have to look at not only the trauma of the abortion, the pregnancy, but the trauma that you had with your own mother in relationship and how she related to you. And so my book is going to be dedicated to daughters who have had a very difficult mother and getting through that. And I hate to say it, but unless you can go back, you cannot fully heal. You have to understand, the narcissist ways, the trauma she went through, and you have to have your, if you don't have your mother, if she's not alive, that's one story. That's like you can't do anything about it, but you can do it on your own. And so where my mother totally dumped me and abandoned me again, not just when I was pregnant and left me at the doctor's office, and then when I was sitting there in pain, she sat there and did nothing. She sat there and did absolutely nothing while my baby was dying except sit there and watch. And that was a form of abandonment too. So until you can get through that, ladies, and get through the stuff with the people who, not only like a grace group, big picture with what happened, but pull it down and be like, how were these relationships? How was the interaction? How were you abandoned by your mother? And what was her story and your grandmother's story to allow this to happen? Takes a lot of work, ladies, but my book is coming out. I'm working on it. I have a little bit more writing to do. I am isolating myself for today, and I'm working on it. So that's what I got for now, guys. Long video to help you. And my calling right now is to help other women heal from abortion. And the more people you have who enter your story, not only in that second post-abortive class where I had about, I want to say 6 other girls with me, but now in the bigger circles where we're all telling our stories, is going to help you heal faster. Don't do it on your own, ladies. Don't do it on your own. And I had to process a lot of trauma on my own because I was raising my kids and people didn't talk about it back in the day. So nowadays we have people talking about it, and you want to get in there and you want to deal with your story. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys. Whoops, it doesn't want to hang up. Hold on. I have a broken phone I'm working with.